Hi, I'm Dave from boyinaband.com. Whilst wandering around the Boyinaband forum, I noticed some fantastic tutorials showing how to make some frickin' dirty robotic basses, made by a producer called MalleusDUB. I asked him if he wanted to show you guys a bass I really loved from one of his recent releases, and thanks to his obliging nature, here it is, the first BIAB guest tutorial. Before you begin, make sure you initialize all the devices as you go along, or alternatively, go Edit, Preferences, and hit this little checkbox here that says Load Default Sound in New Devices, which will turn that off and make sure everything you create is automatically initialized. Take it away, Malleus.
Hey guys, Malleus here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a transforming robotic dubstep bass. When we're done, it should sound a little bit like this. And you will be able to change the LFO rate, a couple of filters to make it sound like it's transforming forwards, backwards, or different directions, however you want. I'll explain a little bit more of that later on when it's done. So right now, let's go ahead and get started. Open up a new Reason file. And if you don't already have a mastering suite and a mixer in, go ahead and insert those. And then after that, insert a Combinator by right-clicking and going to Combinator. Now this Combinator, you can name anything transformer-oriented, like Autobots roll out and transform, because I am a weird British Optimus Prime. Okay, and after that, you are going to create an NN19 digital sampler. And what you'll be doing with this is resampling. In a previous tutorial of mine, I actually explained resampling in Reason a bit more in depth and how to do so, and for this tutorial I'm kind of skipping those steps. Instead, I'm giving you a download WAV file of a already resampled bass line I made a while ago. I actually don't have that bass line anymore, but it's very similar to the one that I show you how to make in my DATSIC Excision tutorial. So if you want to check out either one of those tutorials, feel free to check out my channel and learn more on those topics. But for now, you're going to go ahead and load up the sample that you download in the description. Right-click the No Sample, browse samples, and find where that sample has been saved to your computer. It should be called Robot Resample Bass 1, and it sounds like this. So, now that that has been inserted, you're going to turn the loop up to forward so that it continuously loops from the beginning, and then change the range up to 12 for a full octave in case you want to use the pitch bend. From there, you're pretty much done with the sampler. Now you're going to be adding the processing. These are just effects that change the way that that initial sound sounds. So, insert, create a maelstrom. And actually you can go ahead and make another maelstrom, a Scream 4 distortion unit, and an M-class equalizer. And when you flip the rack over, some of this is connected already, but others are not. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect this up the way that you're going to have to. You're going to remove the from devices and change the audio output to the input of the maelstrom, the main output of this maelstrom to the second, and then these should be connected correctly, and then the output of the equalizer up to the from devices. Now this process chain has basically made it so that the sampler is playing the note, it's going to both maelstroms, then the scream, then the equalizer, and back up to the Combinator, which goes into the mixer, from the mixer to the output. So, flipping the rack back around, you are going to be, let's name these just so that they don't get confusing. This is going to be the sample, so go ahead and change it to sample. Maelstrom 1 can be changed to LFO rate. 2, go ahead and name it frequency automation. The Scream 4 is obviously just a Scream 4, and the equalizer is just that. As this states, this will be the LFO rate. All that will be used on this maelstrom is in fact mod B for the rate. So you can turn everything else that is lit up off. That is already on. You're also going to want to change the volume down to 64, because the volume of this synthesizer will change how things sound in the long run. It'll be more driven through the rate of how things go through the LFO, and you don't want it to be too loud. You also want to change the range to 12, so it's a full octave. And then on the next one, do the exact same thing for the range. For this, you won't be using mod B, A, or the oscillators. But you will need the shaper and routing both filters A and B through the shaper. So both filters should be bandpass 12s, and the shaper should be a quant at 74. Okay, now as this states, the frequency automation will be done through these knobs here. We will be setting all of these settings, the rate, the frequency knobs, and a little bit of EQ up to these rotary knobs so that it's easier to navigate in the sequencer. This will be explained a little bit more in a few minutes when we get to it. Now when we get to the scream, we're going to turn the cut on and the body and have the damage set to, actually it's going to stay in overdrive, so set the damage to 44. P1 is going to be 96. P2 is going to be 81. The cut will have a low of 28, a mid of negative 26, and a high of 4. The resonance will be 22. The scale will be 91. An auto of 0, a type A, and the master will stay the same. Now on to the equalizer. You're going to turn all of these on. Parameter 1 or parametric 1 is not going to need changed, but you can if you want. It's just going to be a slight boost in the low and the high, and then the mids are going to be changing from left to right through both. If you want, you can actually change parameter 1 and a little bit of a dip so that it just gives it a little bit more character. So you're going to change the frequency to the left here, turn the gain up just a tad for a boost. The high all the way to the right, bring it up for a boost. And then param 1, you're going to bring down and extend the Q a bit. Now, like I said, this knob here is going to be automated so that this will be moving back and forth through the frequency. So what we're going to do here, before we actually get to that step, I want you to flip the rack around and I'm going to explain something pretty cool that I figured out through just messing around. If you add the CV input from mod B of the top LFO rate Maelstrom into the damage control of the scream, you're also going to want to change this to 56. What this is doing is every time the rate goes through the waveform, the LFO changes, along with going through and changing every setting of this scream. So the damage control is being automated as well through each one of these settings. So when the LFO goes through, it changes this as well, along with everything else that's being changed to give it that transforming sound. So what we're going to do now is we can name every single one of these rotaries. The first one will be LFO rate auto for automation. Rotary 2 will be filter A auto. 3 will be filter B. And rotary 4 will be the EQ auto. Now what you're going to do is you're going to assign these to the programmer. So open your programmer and go to the LFO rate, rotary 1. LFO rate is labeled because we have named this first Maelstrom LFO rate. That's going to make things easier whenever you're trying to keep things in order. So LFO rate, rotary 1, modulator, B rate. So that has changed this knob to automate this. Every time this moves, so does that. So we'll put it down and it's down. Moving on to the frequency automation, which is this here. We're setting these two knobs to rotary 2 and 3. So frequency automation, rotary 2, filter A frequency, rotary 3, filter B frequency. Then the EQ auto, select your EQ, rotary 4, effects, parametric 2 frequency. And that is setting this frequency knob to this rotary knob. Pretty simple, huh? Okay, well now you're pretty much set up your combinator completely. Now, when you play it, it should sound a little like this. And you can change the LFO to this. Pretty cool. But that's not it. What I've done is in one of my tracks, when I showed you the sample at the beginning of the video, which sounded like this, it does indeed sound like it's transforming. That is from one of my newer songs that I posted on my channel. It's also on my SoundCloud. Actually, I'll bring that up for you and I'll play you what it sounds like in the mix. That last little bit was indeed this. So, in order to get that transforming sound, if you notice when this is played, each one of these knobs changes. So this is set to the rate knob, and these two frequency knobs are set to these, and the EQ is set to this knob. So all of these change within the sequencer. By right-clicking and edit automation for each one of these, if you now go to the sequencer, each one of these should be opened. Pitch bend has also been opened for this one because I right-clicked the pitch wheel and edit automation, and that brought one up here as well because I've made another example for later. Rotary 1 I have set to the setting of 98, which is actually 3/16, and then the filter A will start up here, and these lines basically give you a good example of where things should be set up at. It takes a little bit of working to get used to where these points are, but you're basically setting points on how far the knob is moved. So this is the center of the knob, and this is the left and the right. So when you turn the knob to the left, you will set a point to farthest left and farthest right if you put it up. So this is set to the farthest right and the left. I set it about midway through both, and that way it goes from right to middle, then up to right to middle again. And I've set that again here on Rotary 3. So both filters will do the exact same thing for both knobs. Rotary 4, which is the EQ, is the same type of situation, but it's this knob here, and it's changing where in the frequency line it goes. So when it's played, it does in fact go through each wave. That's pretty much the explanation for that. You can fool around with any of those there, add some pitch in, and you can get it to sound like it's transforming. That sounded like it was transforming forward. This can go backwards by... And that just changed the rate of the LFO to different speeds, and I put a pitch bend so that it moved up, and then I reversed everything that was set on this one to something completely different. So I hope you have fun with this. I want to thank Dave again for the opportunity to do this tutorial, and I hope you guys like what you see. If you do, go ahead and check out my channel, subscribe, like this video, like my videos, and check out more. I'm always putting more up, and I'm glad that some of these have helped out people in the past. Hopefully it'll help out a lot more in the future. So back to you, Dave.
Now that's a quality bass. Not only can you make frickin' intense robotic dubstep, but I also found that you can make this. Totally appropriate. So, check out Malleus's channel here. For that tutorial on resampling he mentioned, click here. And then for the other one on making the excision style bass, which I absolutely recommend, click here. If you know any producers who you think should be featured in a guest tutorial, or if you've made some tutorials yourself and would like to feature in a future guest tutorial, let me know in a comment or in the Boy in a Band forum. Cheers for watching, you guys, and have a nice day!